warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheth. Thank you so much for logging in. I'm here to give you all the top news stories that we've been tracking for you this evening. Well, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, backed in Nazara Technologies, has opened its 583 crore rupee initial public offering today. Now, the company has already received an overwhelming response from anchor investors. Experts anticipated double-digit growth for the gaming industry going ahead. Now, this is the first IPO from a company in the pure-play gaming space. Well, moving to the second headline of the day, plant-based nutrition brand Oziva has raised about $12 million in the Series B funding led by 8 Rolls Ventures. Now, existing investors also participated in this fundraise. The funding will be used to build out the team, enter new product categories, and build out its technology platform to provide more value-added services. Well, EdTech platform Leap Finance has raised about $17 million in a Series B funding led by Jungle Ventures. Now, the round also saw participation from Sequoia Capital India as well as Owl Ventures. The startup had raised about $5.5 million led by Sequoia Capital India last year. Now, the total funding raised by Leap stands at about $22.5 million. Well, food tech unicorn Zomato has added its own product line of health and dietary supplements. The supplements are sold by Zomato's own brands and are made in India. Zomato said that these functional foods will soon be available on Zomato's app for orders. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, internet giant Google has halved the commission developers have to pay on in-app purchases of digital goods on its Play Store to 15% on the first $1 million they earn as revenue each year. Google had said last year that developers would have to pay a flat 30% commission on all in-app purchases, but deferred this to implement in April 2022 following protests by Indian startups.
Well, moving on to our second segment, I have with me someone who has made a mark in the packaged food space, which has been seeing an exponential growth over the last couple of months, considering that we're in the middle of a pandemic. I have with me Mr. Sahil Gilani from Gibbs Foods. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. I want to begin by asking you about the last couple of months. Of course, you are a family-run business, which has been cashing in on the kind of digital wave that has taken place over the last couple of months. So how has your experience been over the last few months?
I think, the last few months and the previous few months, I would say a year ago is where, exactly almost a year ago, where the pandemic and the lockdown started, it's been actually a up and down for us. So just going back to last March, we got locked down. Our factory is situated in Hadapsar, in Pune. So it's in the heart of the city, and we were shut for over a month. So that was hard for us to do. And having no production and coming off the line, sales were very, very restricted for us, unfortunately. So some of the initial wave we couldn't capitalize on. But we've been fortunate enough to bounce back pretty well from there. We got our production up to speed slowly as they started lifting the lockdown little by little. So it's been a good journey from there on. And I think we had a good season even during the Diwali months for our dessert mixes, especially. We did some new product launches also. So it's been a good year at least towards the second half of 2020. Now we're seeing things are normalizing, and that spurt that had happened, has come down to a normal level. So all the pent-up demand that we experienced in the middle of 2020 once we opened up has kind of normalized. But overall, I think, I shouldn't be complaining because we've managed to make up for that entire month and a half of no production. And today we are in double-digit growth.
In terms of categories, if you could run us through which are the categories that are doing well at this point in time, because I do remember that in the latter half of 2020, ready to eat mixes, etc., were doing pretty well. At this point in time, if you could highlight which would be your key growth categories.
So for us, our three main categories are the instant mixes, which is the ready-to-cook category, which is the largest category for us, especially in India. Then comes the ready-to-eat category, which are our ready meals, which you just have to heat and eat. And then we also have a range of open and eat sweets, so tin, gulab jamun, rasgulla, son papdi, which is a new launch that we did. We also actually have dairy products, which are like ghee and dairy whitener and things like that. So these are the four main categories that we operate in. What we realized is that yes, the ready to eat, although is a very small category, the ready to cook is a bit bigger category. So we did see some more spurt happening in the ready to eat category. Although the base is small, so I wouldn't say it was an exponential growth of any sort. But I think at the time where there was a lot of scare about surface contamination and people were very hesitant about ordering from some of the delivery apps, I think they moved towards using the ready-to-eat products because they are also actually completely natural. There's no preservatives in them, and they wanted to get that restaurant taste at home. So we saw that coming up. But I think by and large, now as well as before, the ready-to-cook category for us has done extremely well. One of the products that is leading for us and that continued to show, very, very consistent growth throughout the lockdown was actually our gulab jamun mix. That is our highest seller and continued to be throughout the lockdown. We thought that, maybe people will move a little less preference towards sweets and take more breakfast mixes and things. While those continued to grow, gulab jamun somewhere became the happiness food in the lockdown. I think a lot of people were getting over the turmoil by using sweets to their rescue. So it became sort of a weekend happy meal. And gulab jamun, as I think most of us will agree, is the king of desserts in India. So that really did well, and a lot of new customers came into the product category who earlier would not use this product or the category as such. But I think they took up to cooking and they realized how easy it is. So a lot of adaptation also happened during the lockdown, which was really good for brands like us.
So, when you look forward in 2021, what is the kind of roadmap or strategy that you're going to be following? I know that there are a couple of launches also that have been planned from your end. So if you could give us some sort of summary in terms of what would be your maybe 2 or 3 key focus areas for 2021?
So us as a brand, we play between the ready-to-eat and ready-to-cook categories. So we did some ready-to-eat category launches last around Diwali, which Son Papdi was one of them that we entered, which out of our open and eat sweets. We are looking at a couple of more launches this year in the coming months in the ready-to-cook category. Also, so it will be between these two categories that we continue to play with, and we see good growth coming in both of them. I think there is enough of a market for people that want to make the effort to cook but also want convenience, and then there's also a market for people that don't have the time to cook at all and want a ready-to-eat product. So for us, now I think our growth plans and our product launches have only increased. So I think in the lockdown, even internally as a team, we got a lot of time to reflect and ideate and also do a lot of R&D here and there to come up with certain product ideas that we had at the back of our mind. So a lot of exciting stuff coming from GITS in 2021.
We'll be looking forward to that. But in terms of, of funding, when you look at the whole private equity and venture capital environment, the food space is a hot space, and a lot of investors have been betting big, especially on the ready-to-eat, ready-to-cook category. Have you been receiving feelers from investors? Or what is the kind of view out there?
So we're today almost a 60-year-old company, right? So we've been getting interest from private equity and several other suggestions from even bankers to go to IPO and several things. I would be lying if we don't get a lot of inquiries and we don't get a lot of interest. But fortunately, I think over the years we have been, we've always been pretty much cash positive, and there are enough accrued sort of profits that we have been able to for our expansion plans. In fact, just during the lockdown time, as soon as it got lifted, we inaugurated a new plant for a ready-to-eat product. So that saw an expansion of almost 4 to 5x of our capacity. Largely, this product line will be for the export market. But we've been able to expand, so we don't see the need to really divest equity. We are very happy to be family held and very proud family business. So we're 100% family owned, and I don't think we are looking for any investment at this point. And I think we are okay on our roadmap, at least in terms of funding. At the moment, there's no real need for us to look at avenues outside of this.
As we speak, I understand even you are an active investor in your personal capacity in the consumer space. So what have been your interests at this point in time? Are there some companies that you're going to be putting money into right now?
So I think as a family, we've been more towards the listed equities and property, as most traditional families are. But I think over the past, I'd say 4 years or so, we've started looking at unlisted startups and things like that. Also from a way of being able to not just give capital, but give some smart capital, right? So I do get pretty deeply involved with some of the direct investments that we have done, and we try and stick to what we know best. So consumer products is something that we know about, so we stick closer to that, and I prefer doing deals where I can add value and not just money. There are enough people with a lot of money who are looking to invest, but I think even promoters are appreciating smart capital more than just capital. So in and around, again, the FMCG and consumer space is what I do try and keep my eyes and ears open towards. Frankly, when it comes to early stage, there is a lot of risk involved. So it takes us, we reject more than we accept. And it's not easy to come by, like-minded promoters and like-minded visions. So I wouldn't say we've gone all over the place investing in every kind of deal that comes to us. We are extremely selective in what we take forward. And then we also partner up with some of the leading funds that are there in the startup space, and we've had some good experience with funds also. Again, completely consumer focused is what we really look at. So our strategy for early stage investments is purely consumer focused brands.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for being a part of Daily Dispatch. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Well, time now to say goodbye. Many thanks for joining us on this edition of the Daily Dispatch. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. As always, goodbye and stay safe.